White House, though, continuing to stand by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth as concerns grow. He may have shared classified information about Yemen attack plans in two separate Signal group chats. NBC News has learned those attack plans were first sent to Hegseth by the head of the U.S. Central Command through a secure government system, not through Signal. But the chief Pentagon spokesperson denies Hegseth shared any classified information through his personal phone on Signal, making some kind of distinction there. Democrats now demanding Hegseth resign. The White House, though, making clear Secretary not going anywhere.
Secretary of Defense is doing a tremendous job, and he is bringing monumental change to the Pentagon. And there's a lot of people in this city who reject monumental change, and I think, frankly, that's why we've seen a smear campaign against the Secretary of Defense since the moment that President Trump announced his nomination before the United States Senate. Let me reiterate, the president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth and the change that he is bringing to the Pentagon, and the results that he's achieved thus far speak for themselves.
So, John, obviously he is the leaker. He someone invited the National Security Advisor, mistakenly invited Jeffrey Goldberg first. And in the second Signal group chat, reportedly spread to the friends and family Signal group. Above the fold, New York Times this morning, chaos builds at the Pentagon under Hegseth's control. It's not just this Signal story. In the past, the Trump administration's policy has just been to ride these things out. They'll go away. Something else will come along. It worked for them on this first round of Signal controversy with Hegseth. Any indication they're prepared to move him out?
Yeah, first, let's be clear. It's deep dysfunction at the Pentagon right now. This is, of course, the secretary's handling of these Signal chats. He's had 4 top advisors leave in recent days as part of, as he sort of suggested there, a leak investigation. But these are people who are largely closely allied with Hegseth himself. These aren't deep state operatives, as the White House is trying to paint them as now. These are people who are close to him who are now being shown the door. Also some reporting that it was Hegseth himself who tried to give Elon Musk access to classified information about China, and President Trump had to step in and say, no, Elon doesn't need to know that. Right now, though, there is real frustration within the building about Hegseth. The president unhappy. That said, to use their phrase, the rallying cry, no scalps. They don't want to show a popular cabinet member, and he is popular with the MAGA base, the door, particularly within the first 100 days. Yes, there has been some speculation in sort of the outer edges of Trump world about who could follow Hegseth. Some names are being floated, but right now Hegseth went on Fox yesterday. I'm told the White House thought he did reasonably well in that interview defending himself. Then the president, at least for now, is not inclined to push him out. But there are real questions as to what other shoes may still drop and whether any other Republicans might say, look, enough is enough. We heard from one lawmaker over the weekend, or Monday, Congressman Bacon said, look, Hegseth needs to go. Congress still on recess. We'll see, though, as others, when they're pressed about Hegseth, whether they say, look, these are the concerns we had privately about his confirmation. We said yes, but now it's clear he's not the guy.
David French, you served in the United States Army. This just isn't a close call. You don't put attack plans in a Signal group chat. By the way, Pete Hegseth knows that. All the senators rallying to his defense know that. The people around the president know that. If this were a Democrat, we can only imagine, although we don't have to imagine, given their protests around Hillary Clinton's private server. But just your assessment of Pete Hegseth's time so far in this job beyond the Signal group chat, by the way.
No one should be surprised by the chaos that we're seeing. No one should be surprised that it appears he's out of his depth. I mean, we're getting reports already that in the building, it's not just that this like a smoothly run machine that has had a signal hiccup, that this is a very poorly run machine of which the signal scandals are an indicator of the broader problem. And I think that's really important to also note something else. Look, soldiers like it when senior leaders go out and do push-ups with them, and soldiers like it when senior leaders share some of their own burdens and share some of their own experiences. But you know what they really want senior leaders to do? Their jobs. They want senior leaders to be good at their jobs. And if you're sharing operational security on Signal, if the Pentagon is in meltdown mode all of the time, if you're having to go onto Fox to fight for your job every day, that is not telling the United States military that this man is in command of the situation, that this man is competent. And again, it keeps that word keeps coming back. We keep coming back to.
Yeah. You know, what's I think.
Administration's failures in that regard.
Sorry, we'll get the audio better on David French, but to his point, I think the fact that there are absolutely, seemingly no consequences to this at the very least shows such a lack of care for probably one of the most important facets of what protects this country, the Department of Defense. No consequences. This is our national security being treated with reckless disregard, with a cavalier attitude, with barbs back at the media. And I would think for our troops, for family members of anyone in the military, for any family members who have lost someone who served for our country, it would be chilling to see Pete Hegseth just laughing this off and blaming it on someone else. For every service member, for every family member, this is an insult to see him behaving in such a reckless way and nothing happening. Add to that, absolutely no accountability, none, not taking any, blaming it on other people when it's obviously him. And even worse, hypocrisy. Here's Pete Hegseth, I think back in 2016, talking about others. Take a look.
Apparently, the standard operating procedure inside the Clinton Secretary of State office was to send emails that couldn't otherwise be printed to the maid to print them out of a secure area or from a secure area and then hand them off. Any security professional, military, government, or otherwise, would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information. The fact that she wouldn't be held accountable for this, I think, blows the mind of anyone who's held our nation's secrets dear, who's had a top secret clearance like I have and others, who know that even one hiccup causes a problem, let alone a standard procedure like this.
Really? Wow. Just one hiccup causes a problem. Just one little one causes a problem.
He holds the secrets dear.
He knows so much about how it's important to be careful with our nation's secrets, to not chat about with other people about them, except his wife, his attorney, his brother, and Jeffrey Goldberg, Caddy K. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's pretty staggering listening to that tape. There is video for everything, it seems. And listening to Pete Hegseth in that video from 2016 being so outraged about Hillary Clinton and then now turning that outrage against the media and the leakers makes you realize that perhaps there's a little disingenuousness to what he's saying at the moment. Just a little touch. But, Jim, what are those Republican senators who voted for Pete Hegseth, and he passed with the slimmest of margins, just with one vote, knowing that he was not competent for the job and having expressed already their reservations about him for the job, just in terms of his qualifications as a manager? He's never run anything as big and as important as this. What are you hearing their feeling at the moment?
I mean, listen, there's a split screen, right? It's the BS you hear in public, which is either supportive or silence, or it's what they tell you in private, right? Like most of the senators you talk to never thought he should be the defense secretary and think all of this is absurd. And I think you have to sit back and think about a couple things. One, every time that we talk about Republicans finally speaking out, it's Representative Bacon. It's a person. It is not the Republican Party. Almost nobody's speaking out. We've not found a single person who's talked to Trump who said Trump has talked about replacing him. So others seem to be reporting that, but we can't find anybody who's talked to Trump or Trump's talking about it. And then three is we're not 100 days in. Like 4 people have left. Like the way leadership works, as someone who runs a company, like anything you see in the behavior of your people reflects the leader. And the fact that you're 90 days in, and not even 90 days in because it took several days to get confirmed and then to hire staff, that you have infighting almost instantly, ineptitude across the top of it, and then just like the leaking and the fact that this is the Defense Department having to talk about internal drama as opposed to protecting the American people speaks to a deep-seated problem.
Not how you run Axios, let alone the Defense Department.
I'd be fired if I ran that way. You just can't. And I think that is when the American public or folks in MAGA are like, oh, you guys got to stop picking on the cabinet officials. Like, this leadership matters profoundly. right? Like any organization reflects the people at the top. And especially when you're talking about vital organizations like the Defense Department, that's what concerns like the most serious Republicans who are sitting on armed services thinking about the dangers that the country faces. And this stuff eventually does bite you. Like having highly competent people doing their job on behalf of the American people is vital work. Vital work. And like, will Hegseth survive? He probably survives in the short term. It's hard to see him surviving long term because I think there's a lot of other investigative reporting going on. I think there's more embarrassments to come for him that the White House is going to have to deal with. Eventually, Trump does tire of people if it reflects poorly upon him. But this is your reality, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, if this is the behavior that that is coming to the surface, there's definitely more. And I'm looking to Republicans like Dave McCormick and Josh Hawley, Senator Thune, Joni Ernst. I mean, these Republicans, they're seeing what we're seeing. Yeah. Many of them served. They absolutely know that if this was anybody else anywhere within the military, they would be fired. Spot on. And here we go, waiting for the next shoe to drop.